What is up, guys? Rambling Collector back here once again, and I gotta say, it's been a while since I've done a manga review. So I figured that as of late, since I've been fighting off a bit of a sickness myself, I figured why not talk about a series that involves the health of the body itself? Kind of ironic when you think about it, huh? So, a lot of you know already about Cells at Work, the currently 6-volume manga done by Akane Shimizu, which covers the adventures of a red and white blood cell as they journey carrying out their tasks within the human body. And honestly, I gotta be straight with you guys, I have not read the original manga, despite the fact that it's only like 6 volumes. As a matter of fact, my first exposure to Cells at Work in general was actually through the anime, which is available on Netflix, done by David Productions. I watched all 13 episodes, and I actually really enjoyed it, especially with how different it was of an anime. It's nothing that's like action fantasy or anything like that. It's actually educational in a way. It teaches you about biology, but in a more fun way. I honestly wish health classes were like that back in the beginning, and it wasn't just Bill Nye the Science Guy. So, there is the main manga series, however, I am not going to be talking about that today. Instead, I'm going to be addressing 2 of the spin-off series that occur within this universe. And let me tell you, there is a lot of spin-offs already. Just these 2 alone are probably the most popular as of right now, and are the few that have actually gotten an English release. So today I'm going to be talking about Cells at Work Code Black and Cells at Work Baby. And I gotta tell you guys, Black was one of my personal favorites, but Baby has actually been a pretty interesting read as well. So with that out of the way, let's talk about him. So first up is Cells at Work Code Black. I gotta tell you guys, when I first heard about the series, I was like, well, this sounds interesting. What is it about? So the main premise of it is that Cells at Work Code Black, unlike the original series, which takes place in a relatively healthy body, Code Black is kind of like what would happen if it was in the inside of an adult body. Granted, one that is very workaholic, very unhealthy, and just all kinds of nasty stuff. So I gotta tell you guys, this series is not an easy one to get into, okay? I will warn you all right now, this one is a lot more mature than the original series, or even Baby for that matter. While Baby is mainly censored, I guess, towards children, in a way, Code Black, like I said, is for a much more adult audience, because it tackles a lot of things adults normally deal with, such as being overweight, STDs, cancer with smoking problems, and hair loss, just everything. In fact, there's even signs of depression, overwork, and just so many other problems that occur throughout the series. And I gotta tell you guys, being an adult must really suck for whoever's body this is, because Jesus Christ, there are so many problems. And even if they start getting healthy, such as in one of the later volumes, whenever the body that the male red blood cell and white female blood cell, when they're finally experiencing a somewhat healthy body, they get transferred through a blood transfusion into a body that is even worse. And I cannot help but feel sorry for these guys having to deal with that. It makes you really wonder whether or not people are actually taking care of themselves, if this is what their cells are probably dealing with on a regular basis. So I gotta tell you guys, cancer does pop up in the original series, but it is taken care of relatively quickly. Sorry about that. But compared to that, the cancer that is shown here in Code Black is far more dangerous and terrifying. And the fact that Code Black currently has 2 more volumes than the original series, rounding out at about 8, with only 7 being released in English as of right now. I'm still waiting on Volume 8, people. Come on! Just, seriously, this is a heart-wrenching series to read, but at the same time, you can't stop. It's like, you know it's horrible, you know it's dark, you know that there is not going to be a happy ending somewhere down the road, but at the same time, you can't help but hope for the best, that throughout all their struggle, they still find a way to win and actually get to see a healthy body after all the work that they pour in, despite knowing how hopeless the situation is, because we as humans, we're like this a lot. We get told that we should do this in order to correct our health, and sometimes we might stick with that for a while, but eventually we just go back to habit, because humanity as a whole are creatures of habit, even if they are very self-destructive habits because of the sheer amount of stress that we deal with in a very work-obsessed environment. And this just goes to show the consequences of that, with things such as diabetes, erectile dysfunction, STDs, smoking problems, with cancer being brought up from smoking. I remember one point during the cancer arc of this series when they actually had to surgically remove a piece of the lung, and damn, the way it's described internally is just, wow, it is horrifying. But again, it is a very addictive read, and honestly I view it as a good precaution, a good way to visually show you what will happen if you do not take care of yourself. This is a good way as a kind of a warning of this could happen to you. Take care of yourself. So, with that out of the way, let's move on to something a little more lighthearted, shall we? So, to move on to something a little more lighthearted, let's talk about Cells at Work, Baby. Now this one I think was actually more recently released, is the word I'd probably use. Yeah, it probably makes sense. Because currently there's only 2 out of 3 volumes available as of right now in English. And it's a pretty quick read, honestly. Just because it really just shows the inside of an infant. Unlike the original Cells at Work, which details probably a young adult or a much younger body, somewhere maybe teenager, something like that, and Code Black, which shows a much older, work-stressed adult individual, Baby details the insides of an infant. And I gotta tell you guys, that was actually a very interesting perspective, because I never really gave much thought about an infant's care and well-being until I read this manga. And let's just say this. Some infants have a lot of health issues. Something I didn't realize, but hell, whenever I do become a parent, this might be a good health guide at the very least. Or at least helps me to identify warning signs of what to expect. But anyways, so all in all, this one, like I said, is a very quick read. I'm probably repeating myself here, and I apologize. But what can I say? As of right now, it's only 2 that are currently out in English, and I cannot wait to read the 3rd volume and officially complete this series, just like I cannot wait to complete Code Black. But also, I really like how the characters here are kind of like in younger, childlike states, and are just learning the ropes of their new body, and learning how to navigate and do their jobs. For example, White Blood Cell, he's a lot more skittish and a lot more cowardly. He's very nervous to step out and do his job, but when push comes to shove, he steps up to the plate and does it very, very well. Meanwhile, the new Red Blood Cell, oh my god, she tries so hard, but she gets distracted so easily, and it's honestly the source of the joke here. And what's funny is that the platelet characters are actually infants. I could not help but laugh a little bit with every single time I was reading this. Every page, every chapter, I found myself at least getting a lighthearted chuckle out of it. Except for when it was serious. At that point, wow. It deals with things like heat rash, suffocation, which that part was dark, Jesus. And this was covered in number 2. But again, It's still very lighthearted, and it's honestly a lot of fun to see all the characters reduced to like these childhood states that are just learning the ropes of their new body and reading things like instruction manuals, learning from older cells and all that stuff. Honestly, it was a really fun read, and I definitely recommend it to all of you who are interested in another more lighthearted spin-off to Cells at Work. But anyways, to move on and conclude this video. So in conclusion, I would have to give Code Black from Cells at Work an 8 out of 10 for very good dark material, but at the same time, it is incomplete as of right now. I'm still waiting on Volume 8 for when I can officially finish the series, but I'm very comfortable placing it at an 8 out of 10. A very, very well done manga, but at the same time, not for the faint of heart and those who cannot handle some very serious subject matter. On the flip side, I would give Cells at Work Baby a 7 out of 10. One, as of right now, it's still incomplete. I'm still waiting on Volume 3. But also, it's a bit more lighthearted, but also very, very short, which is one reason I feel good at placing it at 7 out of 10. It's good, but I wish there was more than just 3 books. Anyways, thank you all for listening, and I hope to do more manga reviews like this in the future. Just gotta set them up first, you know? Anyways, thank you all again for listening, and this is Rambling Collector, signing off.